Okay, so what we have done in last two classes is more of a placement of frames and identifying the DH parameters which are there. That is distance between the two Z axes, that is the joint axes. We identified how much is the link length. We identified what could be the offset, taking a prismatic joint example, and we saw what is a link twist. If it is a link and it can be twisted, so angle between two Z axes measured along x axis is twist. We identified the twist. We know what is joint angle or joint displacement through a revolute joint example and a prismatic joint example. So we did at least two things earlier. In our last classes, we did for two link robot and a three-link three-link cylindrical robot. Okay, so we did those two examples. Today we'll extend it further for one of the example which is known as spherical wrist. Spherical wrist is just like our wrist. Okay, so it starts with a link. Okay, if you can see me clearly, so it can roll. Actually, rolling happens much before over here, but this axis extends down the line, passes through this wrist, and it extends further. Okay, and it rolls about that particular axis. Okay, so this is what is rolling first. Then it can pitch about one of the axis. It can do pitching. Okay, and then one more axis that is there is this axis, that is yaw. Roll, pitch and yaw, three axes are there. So you see one axis which is pitching axis, another one is the rolling axis. This rolling axis and the last axis can be collinear. I'll tell you what exactly I mean through one of the example. What exactly is a spherical wrist? How does it look like through one of the example of an industrial robot I'll show you just now. Okay, so going to this, what you see now, this is a link. uh, you just see one of its motion. Okay, you see just now what all places it is turning. Okay, what all places it is revolving. If you can see it clearly. Okay, so one of the axis, if you can see this, one of the axis is having Z axis placed over here. If you can see my cursor, okay, this is my cursor. So this is where Z axis has started. Okay, for this link, this Z axis, about which this yellow link with respect to this a brown one, it is rotating. If you see it once again, okay, it is rotating with respect to the brown link about that axis, that is the Z axis, RGB. R is X axis, G is Y axis, B is blue one is Z axis. So about Z axis this link is rotating. So this is one axis. Another axis is this one. If you just see that one, I'll stop rotating that fourth link. Okay, so now you see if it is rotating, you see, so this is one of the axis about which it is rotating. Okay, just notice it. First you see the animation, how it is rotating. I hope it is visible. If not, do let me know. Okay, so this is one of the axis, the second axis about which it is rotating. So it is this axis. Okay, this axis. And if I stop everything now, I'll just rotate the end effector link now. I'll just move this one now, the last link. So the last axis is something like this. Okay, you can see it clearly. So you see that is one axis. So it is Z y and z axis. It is similar to that. Okay, so first axis z comes like this, then you have this axis, horizontal axis, and again this axis, the last one, is in line with the first z axis. So three consecutive rotations can orient this end effector, this flange where you mount the gripper, where you mount tools to do some work. Okay, so this flange can orient in any manner. Okay, so see it once again, all the three axes working simultaneously. Okay, I'll make it once again so that you can see it clearly. Okay, now you see how it will rotate. So first axis, second axis, third axis, all the three are rotating and it goes to a place. If I find out a trace of this, how it does, it follows a trajectory in the space and it goes from one place to the other. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so now I'll stop this thing and we'll continue further. Okay, so now coming to the kinematic representation of same link joint system. Okay, same link joint system, and see how it works. Okay, so here we are. So the first axis, because spherical wrist is a part of a 6 degrees of freedom robot, so it first three links can position your end effector to any place in space. As you have seen this first link, okay, you have your first link which is here, okay, and then you have second link which is here, and you have third link which is here. Okay, so first three link can place this point O3 anywhere in space. Okay, so you saw it is in a cylindrical workspace, it can be any other type of workspace, but 3 is just sufficient to take it to any place. Okay, 3 translations can take it to any place. Okay, or 3 rotations can take it to any place, or a combination of translation and rotation, the way it is here. First is rotation, next to where translation can take it to any place. So it is just a positioning robot. You have no control over orienting this frame. Okay, having another 3 frame that follows this, okay, can orient this vector anywhere in space. Okay, so you need additional 3, that is 4, 5 and 6 axes. Okay, 4, 5 and 6 axis, additional 3 axes with which, okay, so what you see, you need what, 3 additional axes to orient this vector anywhere in space. So 3 were sufficient to position it, another 3 were required to orient this in space. Okay, now coming to my just the orientation thing, that is the spherical wrist. It is just like a spherical joint which can do things. Okay, so first axis is theta 4, it has a rotation axis, and z axis comes like this. Okay, next z axis is this one, next z axis is this one, this is z4, first one was z3. Okay, this was z3, z3 is like this. Okay, z4 is like this, and then you have z5, z5 is like this. So you have 3 mutually perpendicular axes which can take you to any orientation in space. Okay, 3 mutually perpendicular, all are perpendicular to each other. If you can rotate in any of these axes, theta 4, theta 5 and theta 6, these 3 rotation is there only to do orientation thing, not for locating things. Okay, so I'll wipe them all now. Okay, so these are the three orienting axes. This is what which was fitted there at the end of the robot. Okay, So that is why I have named it 4, 5 and 6. So I have already finished with 1, 2 and 3. Now I have to do remaining 3. Okay, so that is the reason it is named like this. Okay, so there is, you see, there is no distance between any two z-axes. All z-axes are intersecting. So that means if there is no z-axis distance, that means there is no link length. Okay, and again, because there is no displacement along z-axis also, it can be taken as, yes, there is some distance. If you take the last link, it starts from this point till the end point. So there is some distance which is here. So this is the last offset known as D6. D6. So frame 6 from frame 1, there is a distance measured along Z5. Okay, and it takes you to a new location by a distance D6. Okay, so this is why there is an offset here. Again, frame 3 must have ended somewhere over here. So axis Z3 is something like this. Okay, axis Z3 is something like this, and it travels in this direction. Okay, it is translated in this direction. So there is some distance D4 which is the offset. So axis 4 from axis 3 that ended here, there is some distance and it is measured along z axis, so it is named as offset and it is denoted as D4. Okay, so two translations along z axis exist, those two are offsets, and there is no translation or twist about the fifth link. So all the three axes are placed together. Okay, so if you write DH parameter for these, okay, so it comes out to be like this. So instead of naming it as 4, 5, 6, I can name it conveniently as 1, 2 and 3. And you see, these are the twist angles. See, you see, D4 is 0. Okay, D4 is 0 because axis 4 and 5 is at same place. 5 and 6 is at same place. 6 finally is collocated by a distance D6. Over here, if I name 4, 5, 6 as 1, 2, 3, it comes out to be D3 only. Okay, it is like D3 because you have only 3. If you consider spherical wrist as an isolated case, I can name it as 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, it is just a 4, 5, 6 that comes at the end effector. Okay, it is normally fitted at the end effector. You know, spherical wrist has no meaning. It can just orient something in space. It cannot translate. So it cannot do any valuable job. Rather, it is used just to orient things. Okay, your wrist without your arm has no meaning. Okay, you have to go there and then orient to do something. So that is why it is like this. So anyway, so these are the three rotations, theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. Okay, there is a distance D3 that is here, and there are no link lengths because all the z axes are passing through one another. Okay, so there is no distance between z axis, so all the link lengths are 0. Only offset that exists is this one, last one. Okay, so that is basically separating the last frame end effector flange to this wrist center point. If you saw my robot, the robot end effector was at a distance from the spherical wrist. Same in your case also, if you take your arm, your wrist is here, whereas you hold anything at the end effector over here. So there is some distance. Okay, so that distance is shown like this. In your case, this is your finger. It is not exactly, it is exactly a tool which is fitted at a flange. So in case of robot, this is your flange. Okay, so now this is your DH parameter table. This is a standard. This remains there for most of the industrial robot. So if you just can consider these angles, that is the angle between Z3 and Z4 measured along X4. Okay, so it is minus 90 degrees. Similarly, Z5 measured with respect to Z4, it is plus 90 degree. and final Z5 and Z6 both are aligned in a straight line, so angle is 0 degree. So you have to just revise this, see this thoroughly, experience this, do it at times, and then you can understand this. I won't expect you to understand right at this moment, but yes, it is there. This video will remain with you. You do it yourself and you can understand this. Somebody who has understood it is well and good. Otherwise, you just follow the philosophy of this. This exactly is your DH parameter for spherical wrist. This can be attached to any robot, any positioning robot. So just now we saw a cylindrical robot. I would place this spherical wrist over here. So how it will turn out to be. Okay, so this is your spherical wrist DH parameter. So if you put transformation first, transformation second and transformation third and take a product, this gives you the orientation thing. It is not that trivial to find out the expression which can quickly validate this. Okay, maybe you can put some angle 0 0 0 and you can get some results. Yes, it is quite okay. Okay, we'll see through demonstration tomorrow, okay, in the next class. Okay, so right now take this as granted. Okay, so this is nothing but an orientation matrix. Okay, this is there just to orient, provided you know theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. All sines and cosines are represented here in a compact manner. D3 is the only distance that is existing here. Okay, and then I have fitted spherical wrist. Okay, this is your spherical wrist that has three rotations, theta 4, theta 5 and theta 6, and I have reached till the end effector, that is the sixth link end. Okay, this is the last link end. Okay, and it has normal, orthogonal and sliding vectors. Okay, that is normal. Okay, so this is your spherical wrist. Okay, spherical wrist fitted at the end of a cylindrical robot. This is your rotary joint and next to our prismatic joint. So now I'll just I'll just club those two DS parameters. The first three was done earlier in the second example. Next three we did it just now, that is for spherical wrist. So this is for positioning robot, cylindrical robot example 2 that we did. Okay, and then this is for your spherical wrist just now that we did. Okay, take the product, you will get end effector pose. Pose means position and orientation with respect to the ground frame. Okay, and this will give you a set of orientation and position, okay, combined together. Okay, so this is what is a 6 degrees of freedom cylindrical robot, and if you solve them you'll get a complicated results like this. This is the reason why I told you to do some. Doing this manually is a cumbersome task. It is very difficult. Okay, you lost in between. If at all you do any single mistake, you are gone. That thing will have no meaning. Okay, so it is better to use any symbolic computation tool like MATLAB Maple. Maple you can use, MATLAB MuPad you can do, Mathematica is there, WX Maxima is there. I have told you all this just to for you to practice. Okay, you can practice with them. Okay, all the time you need not to have um, doing thing need not to do everything in symbols. If you have value, you can directly substitute values at each moment of your time cycle, how your robot progresses. So each moment you know how much is your theta, theta. You get a trajectory of theta 1, trajectory of theta 2, trajectory of theta 3. Okay, with respect to time, you know the plots of different joint angles. Put them for a time period and you will get the orientation position at each and every time period. This is how it is done. We'll do practically few things. So this is your 6 degrees of freedom cylindrical robot with a spherical wrist. So it can position by the first 3 degrees of freedom, okay, and it can do remaining 3 degrees of freedom, it can do orientation, okay, and that is how it works. So this example basically explains the philosophy of having any 6 degrees of freedom robot, and this is how these are the mathematical computations which are there. Okay, all these computations are involved when we do any forward kinematics. So let us start with another very good robot which is not a 6 degrees of freedom robot. However, this is very popular in the industry, and that is the reason I have included it here. Okay, that is a Iskara robot. What it has, how many degrees of freedom it has? First degrees of freedom that it has is a rotary degree of freedom. That is a vertical axis, okay, z0, about which the first link, which is not a straight link, it is something like this, it ends here. So this link will rotate in space about this axis, okay, and take this point in a circular manner, okay, it can follow a circle. Then again you have second degree of freedom, which is again z1, and it again can rotate in this axis, about this axis, in a circular manner by an angle theta 2, and take this point. Now this is your next link, which can be rotated in a circle about z1. So this second point can now rotate in a circle about axis z1, taking this as center. So you have a link which is first like this, and second link is like this, that can further rotate about this axis. Okay, okay, going to next. This link has a prismatic joint now. Okay, now you have what? You have a prismatic link. What is a prismatic link? This time you don't have a rotary joint. This point has a prismatic joint which can take point 3 with respect to 2 by a translatory man. Okay, so it can, this point can go up and down. Okay, either it can go up, it can go down with respect to point 2 in space. So point 3 can go vertically up and down with respect to point 2. Okay, if everything is else is stationary, so this is like this. Okay, and then axis 3 also has a revolute joint. Axis 3 also has a revolute joint. So just let me wipe it off so that things become very clear for you. Okay, now that you have reached till point 3, point 4 can rotate with respect to this axis 3 by an angle theta 4, okay, by an angle theta 4. Okay, so this is again a revolute axis, and it is protruding downwards. Okay, so this side it is clockwise, so it can rotate like this. Got it? So these are the 4 degrees of freedom this Iskara robot has. And now first 3 you saw just now, first 3 are revolute joint, first 2 are revolute joint, next is a prismatic joint. So point 3 can go anywhere in space, so first link and the second link can make this point go in xy plane. If this is x, if this is y, okay, so if this is the base of the robot, so this point can go in anywhere in xy, so it can assign only xy, there is no z. But now that you have a prismatic joint over in this location 2, so now you can take it up and down about this point. So this is x, this is y. So now that point 2 has a prismatic joint which can take it up or down, so it can have any displacement along z direction also. So point 3 can now have xy and z also. Point 3 can also have z variation. Okay, so apart from taking it to xy in a xy plane, it can also go up and down and do any positioning motion. Okay, so it can, point 3 can go to any place in space in x, y, z. Okay, so it can go to any place. Now I want additionally to rotate it, but not any way we want. We don't want it to roll. We don't want it to be pitched. Okay, what we want. So not at this point can go anywhere in space. Okay, I can take it, but I don't want it to roll. Okay, I don't want it to roll. I don't want it to pitch. So what degrees of freedom that I have given it? It is just the vertical degree of freedom. Okay, it is just the vertical degree of freedom. Okay, so now what it can do is this. It can just have a rotation like this. Okay, this rotation is always perpendicular to this plane. Okay, this ground plane, this rotation can only go perpendicular to the ground. Okay, so that is the reason this is Skara. Okay, and it can go anywhere in space. Okay, it can go anywhere and it can just rotate like this. It cannot roll, it cannot pitch, it can only rotate about its axis, which is vertical to the ground. Okay, this type of motion is very required in standard pick and place. If you have to pick something from a conveyor, you have to pick it vertically from the top and put it somewhere. Okay, pick it, place it, pick it, place it. Only change that you may require, if it is a chocolate that is moving on a conveyor belt, it can be oriented anyway. So you just want this orientation. Okay, planar orientation. Okay, so this orientation is possible using this vertical z axis. Okay, so that is how it is done. Okay, now let us see. Now that I have placed different frames, we'll see how this can go. Okay, how the DH parameters are placed. Okay, so let me move ahead. Okay, so these are the 5 frames. Why 5 frame? Because I also know there is a frame which is attached to the ground. That is the first 00 frame. Okay, 000 x0 y0 z0, that is always attached to the ground. Now see how number 1 is placed. Okay, so there is some distance between z0 and z1. So if there is some distance between z0 and z1, what is that? That is the link length, and this is it. So this is a1. Okay, that is the link length which is here, and z1, this first frame and the 0th frame, there is some distance which is traveled along z axis. Okay, this vertical travel is there, and that is why it is known as offset, and this is your d1. So it has both, whereas both the z is directed upwards. There is no angle between z's. Okay, there is no twist in this link. It is just displaced along two different directions, that is offset and link length. Okay, so only A and D will exist and there is no twist. So that is why alpha 1 is 0. Now point 1 rotates about vertical axis by an angle theta 1. Okay, so that is the only joint variable, and this is how link 1 parameters are defined. Now let me see how this parameter is defined. Now link 1, okay, if this is link 1, okay, this is link 1, so link 2 ends with the frame 2 which is placed here, frame 2 which is placed here. Okay, let me clear it off a bit. This is frame 2. Okay, so frame 2 is placed at the end of link 2. This has a prismatic joint which can go up and down, which can make the point 3 up and down. Okay, that means z-axis, z2 axis should be like this, and common normal between z1 and z2 will be x2. So you know vertical, because there is a motion in this direction, this becomes your z2. Common normal between z1 and z2, it is x2, and perpendicular to x and z, it will be y, based on RH coordinate system, right-handed coordinate system. So that is how you have placed this frame. Now let us see what are the parameters. So there is a distance between two z-axis, z1 and z2. There is some distance, and that distance, you know, it is given by link length. So this is a2. Okay, as because there is no travel, there is no travel between z1 and z2, both are in a single line. Okay, it is not going up and down. Okay, so there is no travel along z axis, so offset is 0. Now z1 and z2 both are directed 180 degree to each other. Okay, and that is rotated about x-axis, so that is the reason it is 180 degree over here. Okay, so that is the link twist. Now both the z-axis are not parallel, other one is perpendicularly downwards. Okay, so if this would have been like this, instead of going up and down this way, it is taking it downwards, up and down. Okay, so that is the reason z2 is placed like this. Okay, so this is your next, so that is the reason it is this. Okay, now you have another axis which is known as third point. Okay, so let me clear a few marks that I have done so as to make it clear. Okay, now let me finish with point 4. Okay, point 4 with respect to point 3. Okay, so this point 4 can now rotate. Okay, this can now rotate with respect to, okay, this point can now rotate with respect to the vertical axis by some angle. Okay, so first of all, let me put this also. There is a collocation, there is some distance which is traveled along this axis, this prismatic point. There is some distance which is d3. Okay, that also is placed. This length extension, exactly, you see this frame comes to this location, and there you have axis of rotation. It is not exactly at the same place. Okay, so these 2 points are collocated. So if this is the link 2 end, this is the place where link 3 is. So link 3 straight away is nothing but a prismatic joint end. Okay, it ends over here. Okay, so there is no link length again, because this z3 which is there, z3 and z2, so there is no distance between them, so that is the reason it is 0. Okay, there is no angle between z2 and z3, that is the reason it is 0. There is no twist. Again, there is a translation between z2 and z3. There is a distance which it has traveled. So this is your now new joint variable. This is your new joint variable, that is d3. Quite clear? So this d3 is the distance by which point 3 can travel and come downwards further. Okay, but in case of this, you just have a revolute joint. Point 2 rotates about z1 by an angle theta 2. So this is the joint variable here. Point 3, yes please. Okay, so point 3 can come down with respect to point 2 by a distance d3. So that is the reason d3 is the only joint variable, and that is the only joint parameter which will exist. It is not a revolute joint, so this is 0. Okay, so this is the effect of having a prismatic joint over here. It will just make the point 3 go up and down. There is no twist, there is no twist, and there is no collocation. There is no distance between two z axes. Z2 and Z3, there is no distance between them. Reason being, this is making it 0. Okay. And the last one is placed exactly below point 3. Okay, exactly below point 3. And what this is doing, again, the last point is straight away below point 3. So this is point 3. Okay, this is link 3. Okay, so point 4, that is the last point, is directly below x3. You see, all the axes are similar to this, so there is again no displacement between z axes. Z3 and Z4 both are collinear. Okay, both the axes are in a single line. Okay, there is again no twist, there is no twist, so this is 0. Whereas now you have distance between point 3 and point 4, and that is measured along z axis. So this is your distance d4, and that is static, it is not rotating. What is rotating is whole of the frame 4 with respect to frame 3 about z axis by an angle theta 4. So this is joint variable now. Okay. So if you take up a robot, try to put the frames first. All the z axis will be the rotation axis. Let me clear everything so that you can see globally most of the things now. Okay. So I am just clearing them all. Okay. So now what you see is the whole of the robot. Just recapitulate things. Follow the DH parameter. Okay, I'll suggest you today one good software that visualizes DH parameter. You can put your own DH parameter. There are innumerous way you can put a DH parameter. Okay, this is not the only one how you can put DH parameter. Okay, DH parameter can be placed in multiple ways. Okay, but end result will be the same if you have placed them correctly. That means place all the z axes. I'll just revise it once again. Z0 and Z1. Z0 is the axis about which point 1, link 1 rotates by angle theta 1. There are two distances. A1, that is the distance between Z0 and Z1, and because there is some travel in the vertical direction, and this becomes your D1. There is a travel along Z axis, so this is your offset. Okay, so this and this is verified. There is no angle between Z axis, so it is 0. Only joint variable is theta 1, that comes here. Coming to next, there you have placed Z2 axis vertically downwards because it is taking you up and down. Okay, so distance between two z axis is A2. Angle between z axis is 180 degree. 180 degree because it is twisted by 180 degree. There is no travel along z axis, that is the reason it is 0. Only variable about which frame 3 rotates. Frame 3 rotates. This is frame 2. Frame 2 rotates with respect to frame 1. Okay, with respect to the frame 1 is theta 2. Okay, this is the angle about, this is the axis about which point 2 can rotate by an angle theta 2. Okay, so this is the only joint variable. Next comes point 3, that is the frame 3. Okay, this is where you have another revolute joint that holds point 4. This is point 4, frame 4. Okay, so this is your revolute joint, and this is placed over here, and this, these are the two frames are just displaced by some distance. Okay, and that distance is measured along z axis. So it is link 3. Frame 3 has a distance d3 by which it is separated by frame 4, and there is no z-axis rotation. Okay, there is just displacement along z-axis. Okay, so there is no twist, there is no z-axis displacement, so there is no link length also. Because it is prismatic theta, there is no theta, it is just 0. Coming to the final one, this is the fourth one. This point has a frame attached to it. This is the end effector point. Two frames are just separated by a distance d4. Okay, this is just a frame, it doesn't have any twist. Frame 4 has not rotated by with respect to frame 3, so it is zero twist, it is zero twist, and they are in a same line, so z4 and z5, there is no distance between them, so it is making it 0 again. So now that I have placed all the frame, I have revised it once again. Follow this video once again, okay, at your time, and thoroughly try to analyze. This is your final DH parameter table. Now that you got the table, rest of the things are very easy. You know, you just have to put these values to your link transformation matrix. You will get 4 different matrices, and that will give you the end effector. So these are the 4 different link transformation matrices. Done. Once this is done, you get the final end effector pose given by this last 3 elements and orientation like this. So quickly you can verify at least few things. What it says is Z location of the end effector is D1 minus D3 minus D4. Just quickly go to our robot. If this is D1, D3 is in negative direction, D4 is a permanent that is not going to change. Okay, so D1 minus D3 minus D4 is the actual location of point 4 with respect to point 1 along z-axis. If this is your z-axis, that is vertically upwards, so this point will have d1 minus d3 minus d4. So this is what is reflected here. Okay, again you see there is no variable, it can directly go up and down, it cannot roll in z direction. So now last axis, z-axis, is always pointing downwards. W-axis of the last frame, UVW, you know, this is projection of U along XYZ, projection of V along XYZ, projection of W, the end effector frame along XYZ. So you see Z-axis is always pointing downwards. It cannot roll, it cannot pitch. So these two values will remain 0, and it is always pointing downwards. It is being a unit vector. This is -1. You just quickly see your robot. Your z-axis is always pointing downwards. It cannot roll, it cannot pitch, and it is in the negative z direction, and that is what is making it a negative value. So quickly few elements you can verify. In order to verify it to the fullest, you may have to put some value and see. Okay, you can put 000, you can put 001 or 090 degree or some values to the joints and quickly verify your results. At least few things are verified. Projection of W along XYZ, Z coordinate is verified. Remaining things can also be verified. You see it is A1C1 plus A1C1 2. Looking from the top, if you see your robot from the top, how does it look like? You have let me see show you some less clumsy thing. So this was your link A1, this is your link A2. Looking from the top, if you see, if this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, x0 y0. Okay, so looking from the top, you will see point 2 which is here, sorry, point 1 which is here. Okay, this point rotates by an angle theta 1 like this, and this distance will be visible over here. Done. That is one. Next, coming to this point, this is point 2. Okay, this is point 2. Now how is this placed again? So if you take this as one point, so this point is your point 2. Done. And this distance will be reflected here as A2. So what is this angle? This angle is theta 2. So if this is theta 1, this is theta 2. So this point will have coordinates x2, y2, which is given as just like a two-linked system. Okay, looking from the top, if you see it vertically downwards, you will see your robot like this. And all the points, point 3, point 4 are vertically placed exactly below point 2. So point 2, point 3. So you see you have point 2, point 3 and point 4 one below the other. Okay, if you have this one as point 2, so exactly below that, looking from the top, you will see point 3. So xy coordinates of point 2, point 3 and point 4 will all be the same. Only thing that is going to change is the z of this point with respect to point 2. So what is point 2? It is a two-link system. What you should see? It should be a1 c1 as x coordinate plus a2 c12. C12 means cos theta 1 plus theta 2. So this should be your x2. Then now how much should be your y2? Y2 will be this distance. Okay. So how much is this distance from here to here? It is exactly as a1 s1 plus a2 s12. So this is x2, this is y2, and same x2, y2 will be communicated to all the points which are below to that. And that is what is visible even in your forward kinematics. So you see a1, c1, a2, c12. Over here also a1, s1, a2, s12. So x, y, z coordinates, all the three can be verified. This is verified. Remaining can be verified by just analyzing them for some given values. Okay, analyzing them for some given values. Okay, I think we'll do some live demonstration using a software which is known as Robo Analyzer and Virtual Robot Simulator. One of them is for Unix environment, another one is for Robo Analyzer is for Windows environment. This software, I would suggest all of you, this is free. This is developed at IIT Delhi under Professor S.K. Saha and developed by a team which is led by Professor C.G. Rajiv Lochna. Okay, you just go to a website called roboanalyzer.com. You can just Google it, download a software, the one that I have just used at the beginning of my class when I showed a spherical wrist. Okay, that animation was created using this software only. I would suggest you download this so that we can have some demonstration and better understanding of all these DH parameters. Okay, so with that, I think I can finish now today's class. Any queries are welcome. Thanks you. Thank you.